Welcome back to Z to Z. We are now at episode 20. If you're a first-time listener to this podcast, we are a franchise podcast that is focused on providing information to Zs and by Zs. I'm excited to announce that our little podcast has attained another milestone, and that's reaching our 20th episode. We are thrilled to get to this goal. It took some time, and it's a lot of hard work and dedication, so I really appreciate us getting to this point. I also want to thank our listeners who have supported me, and of course the guests that have taken their time out of their busy schedule to talk about everything franchising, of course. So to celebrate this milestone, I'm very excited to have Yolanda Stevenson, CEO and founder of TaxiMom, and her sister Rose, a franchisee, right-hand girl, and a territory manager, also a TaxiMom. So I'm thrilled to have both of them on the show. So let's talk Z to Z. Yolanda and Rose, welcome to Z to Z. Thank you for taking the time this morning to share your story to our many listeners across the country and many parts of the world. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Hello, thank you for having us.
I appreciate you taking the time to come out today and talking about your concept, your brand, TaxiMom. It was really good meeting you, Yolanda. I want to say that first in person at the Latin Symposium there in Dallas. It was great. And what did you think of the symposium?
It was good. It was really good. I felt like I got a lot of information from it.
Yeah. And Rose?
It's always good to get the information and learn from it.
Yeah, I met some really, really cool people and met a lot, learned a lot of new things that day.
Yeah, no, it was my first time. I mean, I've seen it and I've, watched it whenever he would post anything. Everything just kind of worked out. And I couldn't have planned it any better, and it was great to finally meet you in person. But I am so excited again to have you on. I will tell you this, that you were the talk of the town, Yolanda. Everybody really loved your story. Everybody was in very, very engaged in what you started. And
well, I know a lot of people want to know TaxiMom. Wow, a lot of people get really infatuated with the name, but TaxiMom was started in 2004, all because I needed the service. So I used to work and go back and forth from Dallas to Waco, and no one was there to take care of my boys as far as getting them to school safely. And my husband, he was the one that was there and would take care of the boys, but he had to be at work so early in the morning, and school starts at 8:00, and we didn't have anybody to get them to and from school. So I started to really look at what resources I had available to me, because when you live within a 2-mile radius of the school, you get no bus transportation. And I just was very nervous about them walking to school, especially because, at the time, my boys are 4 years apart, and one was in the 7th grade. The other one was in the 3rd. So I didn't feel comfortable with Jacob going to school by himself. And then, of course, Josh having to walk across a major intersection. That was just really, really hard. It was a hard pill to swallow. So needless to say, when it came time for my daughter to start kindergarten, I decided, you know what, I needed this service. I'm going to take the risk and let's just go all in. And so I came home with the idea. My kids and my husband were like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, I think this is going to be good. And so we bought real estate signs. I put TaxiMom on it. We went to 4 different areas and placed them in medians, and boom, TaxiMom was born.
Basically, the concept it started just from a need, right? I mean, from you looking at what you needed and putting basically 2 and 2 together and saying, you know what, let me try this. Now, tell me a little bit about your background. Do you come from an entrepreneurial family? Do you family-owned businesses? Or tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, yes. So my dad's been in business for now over 50 years, and he's always done construction. And we come from a line of entrepreneurs. My uncles all own their construction business, as well as my father. They kind of, they started working together, and then they kind of geared off by themselves. My dad does commercial, construction. So he does commercial masonry. And, I have one aunt out of the family, because I think it's 11 of them. And out of the family, only one woman, which is my Aunt Mary, she's one of the oldest, had started her own seamstress shop. So she actually still has it. It's called Montoya Fashions, and she deals with a lot of the Baylor people, because my hometown is Waco, and it's a college town, Baylor University. So that's where I think I get a lot of that drive, that persistence. My parents never really talked about it, but we just knew that they
We
were
saw
there.
them.
We saw them
We saw
working
them,
every day. Yeah,
They were a team.
exactly.
What do you think was your biggest motivator outside of your need that the reason why, because of course your kids? Is there anything outside that was motivated you to really start this at all as well?
Community. I'm a big believer in serving others. I've had a lot of discussion with God as to what my purpose is, and I really truly believe in my heart that my purpose is to serve others and to help uplift others, especially because as a minority, we watched my parents go through things, or we've heard stories, not really seen them go through the hardships, but just heard the stories of the racism. And just to be able to give minority opportunity was really big for me.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, now that you put that out there, tell us how was it being a Latina starting a business? Can you give us an example of the difficulties that you ran across?
Well, I can only say this. I didn't really, like on a racism level, never. I've never had that problem. I think it's because people automatically think that I'm very educated in what I do. I didn't start going to college until I was 40, and I went to community college just to pick
Sure.
up some stuff. But I think the banking system, like capital, finding the money. I had to grind and do it myself because I couldn't get that backing. But I think a lot of it came from, at that time, I didn't know anything about credit and how important your credit score was.
Yeah.
So, that's just something that my parents never really talked to us about. And now, going back, I think, gosh, had I had a better credit score, knowing how to build an actual business, it's all just self-taught. I picked up a lot of books. I read a lot of books. I went to my local store, and I just learned to put a business plan together in order to have that vision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that is a lot for a lot of us, especially in the minority community, which I don't like to use the word minority, because we happen to be the majority now. Our community is really set to the standard of get out there, work early, and work hard, right? Support your family. First, second, third generation is out now. Third generation is a little different now. I am second generation Hispanic, Latino from California, but my just like my parents were hard workers. They were very hard workers. They were entrepreneurs, but they themselves didn't have the education to figure out how to go through the entrepreneur experience and what they needed to do in order to accomplish what they wanted to do. And that was not passed on to me in the sense of what was needed and what I needed to do to become a successful business owner. Right. And so what did you and I do is learned the hard way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. We had to learn the hard way. And sometimes the hard way doesn't feel so good.
No, it doesn't. And, I think like for us, I think, like I was a part of a roundtable for the Latinas for IFA in Fort Worth. And one of the biggest things was we really need to educate our children on the importance of learning that financial aspect of what it's going to take, because there's no guidance.
Correct.
And we need the guidance.
We're not uneducated people where we don't have the proper information.
Correct.
Because we learn very quickly. We're hard workers. It's a community of hard workers, and very determined and have some grit, right? And so we're very family first, God centric. So we have the tools, we have everything we need. We just don't have the internal mentorship within our family groups to help us along the way. Now, some folks do, and God bless them, that they have those. And like yourself, you've had that guidance and you've had that built into your DNA, but it wasn't really enough. You needed to go out there and learn and structure that business as best as you could, and learn off Hard Knocks University, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the concept of TaxiMom. Once you got it in place, talk to us about what that process looked like, and the concept as TaxiMom is.
So we definitely had to figure out what the core was. And we knew that kids was the core. But in the beginning, I used to do like concerts, airport rides, seniors. And, when it came to insurance started going to my website, because the very first website that we did, I built it from scratch.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And, I used to do all these crazy little things, because back in the day, when you're learning code and, the different things, you didn't have a lot of really nice graphics and all of that,
Right.
It was kind of kiddish. And, my biggest thing was like, I didn't want to be so kiddish, because we were covering such a large span in age, and the age difference. And, what we're finding is that younger kids, or the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, are a little bit more embarrassed to ride with us. But, getting back to that core, we had to figure that one out really quick, because insurance, when they caught wind of it, I lost insurance. They didn't want to insure me because I was doing too much. So that's what made me step back and really look at the concept and say, look, we've got to have a core. And so we chose kids, because that's what I really wanted to do, were kids. And once we had that set, then the races were on, and we just started to go, build after that. Like after the second year, I had talked my husband into quitting his job, and I talked my sister Rose into moving here. And, the biggest thing is that you have to have that support system from your family. And I did. And so they really believed in my vision, and they supported me. He quit his job. She moved here. And we just started, going after all the schools, because our phones were just ringing off the wall, and we were hearing stories from the parents, and people would call us desperate and crying because they wanted to get onto our service.
Right. You said something that's very important, and that's critical in every entrepreneur's path and journey. But at a scale of 100%, how important was the support that you had from your family?
Oh, man, if I didn't have my family, I wouldn't be here doing what I do. Family's super, super important to have. Even just that belief, like when I talk to my dad, oh, mija, I hope everything works out for you. And I say, no, Dad, everything will work out for me. We have to keep that positivity going at all times. And you really have to believe in what you're doing, because you get in your head, everything, you just start losing everything. Because once you're in your head, that's one of the biggest things that I think every entrepreneur suffers with is, am I good enough? And to have your family support you and lift you up and elevate you as you have those downsides, that's going to be super important just to any business.
Correct. Now, since you're talking about family, tell us about this lovely lady sitting right next to you and how important she has been to your business.
she's been extremely important to the business. She's super smart. I always call her my relationship manager because she's really good at building relationships with not only the parents but the kids, and the kids love her. And in fact, she was asked to be a officiant for a wedding from one of our previous students.
One of our first customers ever, actually.
Wow.
And me and her she's 32 now. And we just, over the years, like when she graduated and she met her husband and she had a baby, she just always would call me and we would always go grab lunch and coffee. And so we just kept the relationship up. And now, all these years later, she is truly one of my best friends. So I married her.
That's an amazing story. That's a great story. Marrying, you get your customers and we'll marry you too.
That's right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So Rose, tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, and what you do with TaxiMom.
Well, like you said, I'm Yolanda's sister, and I came in year 2. I had a Tahoe, and I was in school, and I needed to transfer out of that school because I was right at the end. It was a community college, and I had done everything I could do there. And so luckily, Yolanda was like, oh, well, there's University of Texas at Dallas right here in my city. You could live with me, and you could go to school and work for me, and you could do it all, and it was literally one night on the phone. I mean, we were probably on the phone for like 5 or 6 hours. And that weekend, I started selling all my stuff. And I moved up here like within, was it like a month and a half or two? Got into UTD on my first try, transferred in, moved in with Yolanda. And I started TaxiMom. She put me on a route. And that's how it got started. And so I started working for her. I worked for her for 10 years. And then kind of capped out because she was like, look, we're growing. The business is growing. There's, you got to do more than just drive. I can't keep paying you just to be a driver. And so, in the beginning, I always tell people I wasn't a risk taker. I wasn't a jumper. I always say a jumper. But Yolanda, she's truly my best friend and mentor. And she taught me how to be a risk taker and feel the fear and do it anyway. And so that's something that we live by. And I always tell people, I'm a jumper now. I don't think about it. I just do it. And so she pushed me to start my own territory. So I've been out in South Garland for 7 years now, really well known out there. And when she started the franchise in 2019, probably I would say the end of 2020, she was asking me, she would start asking me, can you do this or can you do that? Can you come be a part of this? And so eventually, you know how it goes with family. I never really got officially asked, but then I just became part of the franchise and just her right-hand man to be there to help her, support her. And, because things get really heavy on her. And so I'm just here to support everywhere. I don't even know what I am, Louie. I'm like a floater. I go and do whatever she needs me to do. And, and I always say it's all out of love and loyalty because I love TaxiMom the same way. It's just in me. And I have a daughter. She's 13. She's always been a part of TaxiMom. That's all she knows. And yeah.
That's wonderful. It's a wonderful story. It's really okay. Well, first I got to ask, who is the older sister here?
I am Yolanda.
You are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yolanda.
We're 9 years apart, Louie.
9 years apart?
Yes.
That's great. Usually when your siblings are so spread out like that, it's just like, who is this girl? Who, it's so spread out. It's so different, right? Different generations and things like that. So it's great. It's refreshing. It's great to hear that you have a great relationship with your sister, with Rose and Rose mutually, because you really accepted the opportunity to really help grow a business, and you could either gone, like you said, ran the other direction and say heck no, or like you said, you could just jump right in, And that's what a good entrepreneurs do. We're all risk takers. And yes, we try to claim that we are strategic risk takers, but sometimes that doesn't work.
No, it
right?
doesn't.
I always refer to myself as the plunger. I take plunges.
Yeah.
And she does.
Yeah. Well, and rightfully so, because I mean, listen, if you think about it, and like you said earlier, Yolanda, get into your head, you're never going to accomplish anything. Your mind is there to protect you. Your mind is there to say, you know what, maybe not today. You know what, maybe that could happen. And if you live by the what ifs, you're never going to have the successes that you want to see and vision in your mind and want to experience, right? And help that community. You're missing out so much if you listen to if you listen to your mind and who that just really trying to protect you. But if you listen to it, a lot of us will never accomplish anything. So
there's so much fear. There's so much fear.
100%. And not to say that it's not valid.
Oh no.
Right. But just imagine if all of us did not, if Steve Jobs, if Elon Musk and all those guys didn't succumb to their fear, we would not have the technology we have today in society. We would not have a lot of things in society because fear would dominate and we would just be still living in the caves. Right. So,
well, that's why it was always in me, but Yolanda just helped pull it out of me because, like I said, like she was saying earlier, our dad is an entrepreneur and all of our uncles. So we always had that and saw that spirit because our dad he would always say growing up, you don't want to work for nobody. You don't ever want to work for nobody. And so I always remember him telling us that, you never want to work for anybody. So that was always in me. But Yolanda just helped pull it out of me. And she made me, Louie.
She said,
I'm so thankful for that, because I'm able to grow a strong daughter now. And, she doesn't even think about, she's 13, she's going to the 9th grade. She doesn't even think about working where she's going to work out one day. She's like, what kind of business am I going to build one day? So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. And so with that concept, that mindset of just plunging in and getting in there and doing the work and taking strategic risk and managing a company. And now that you have franchises, so let's talk a little bit about franchising. So obviously you didn't start off franchising, am I correct?
That's correct.
All
I've
right.
been in 18 years. I was in business, 14 years before I franchised.
14 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you woke up one day on that 14th year, did you automatically wake up and scream out franchising?
No, but I always did want to franchise. When I was building TaxiMom, I always talked about franchising. Mm-hmm. And that was the whole reason that I moved, like my rows over here and building the business and showing proof of concept. I knew that was something that we were going to have to face at some point. And, when I was going to SCORE, that was something that they did tell me that you're going to have to prove that it is duplicatable. So, but on the franchise level, I think I really knew what I was getting myself into when it came to supporting, the franchisees, because I've never been a micromanager. I used to be micromanaged when I was in corporate, and I hated it. So coming into franchising, I came in it looking at opportunity. What opportunities are we going to lay out for other people to build their own business, and what kind of support are we going to give them? That was the biggest question in my head. Now, coming into the franchise world, I didn't know anything at all. I've learned a lot just from being a part of IFA, listening to the stories, going to these conferences, and I think because I've already had that mentality of serving others, I do know the importance of the support that a franchisee needs. And I think that's what makes us successful.
Why was your
right?
Yeah, Rose was my guinea pig.
I was her guinea pig. That's why she picked me, Louie. She wanted to make sure that this was all going to pan out.
Right. So if it goes down the drain, it's okay. It's only my younger sister. It's all right. I'll buy her dinner or something, or
we'll figure it out later.
We'll figure it out later. Well, but that's important, and in the sense, as funny as that sounds, that was a strategic move, and because if you have to try the concept somehow. Now, obviously, you tried it for 14 years, so you knew the concept would work.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You just wanted to take it to the next level, and a lot of franchisors, people who start franchising, do it one or two ways. Is one, they just kind of jump into it as well and say, let's just do this, and I'm just going to learn from other people, and hopefully I'll get some right answers that'll lead me in the direction that I want. Or two, they hire somebody like myself that helps them through the whole process, that has a toolbox of tools that helps them go through the entire process, right? And so it's less of a burden on them. It's more strategic in the sense, because you have a mentor, you have a person to guide you through the process. I'm sorry. So, but a lot of people don't have that luxury. They don't have the luxury of having somebody, a Louie around that will help them walk through that whole process of that.
Right.
But what's important, and that's in the franchisor side. So, but once you start the franchise and you're doing that, the responsibility, going back to what you said earlier, is supporting the franchisees that are coming into your system. Because if they're not successful, guess what? You're not successful, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about a little bit more in detail about how you support that franchisee. So coming into the process, tell us this. Let's start from the beginning. Let's start from Fran Dev. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Fran Dev is his own beast, right?
Yes.
Right? It's its own beast. So tell us a little bit about your Fran Dev process.
So before I started to franchise, I was already working with my developer to build the technology. And the technology was super important to me because in my head, I wanted my business to work for me. Okay. And everybody wants to know, what do you mean your business working for you? You're always going to have to work for your business, but you work on the business, not in the business. And that's something that you have to teach the franchisees. So the technology piece was a very big piece for us coming into the gate, because I wanted to make sure that that process of from when a customer registers all the way through when they start. And so we set up the system from the very beginning, and we taught them how it works, because you have to come in, you have to teach the business to the franchisees, plus you have to give them that vision to hold on to, because you don't want them to go rogue. And and they really need to understand that it's not about the money, it's about the people, it's about the community, it's about the families that you're servicing. Because the whole reason that we franchise the business coming in is because we have a wait list of over 900 people that are on the consumer side waiting for us to service their area.
That's amazing.
And it really, really is. And we've captured all that data. So when a franchisee comes in, we can pull up, like how many people are in that territory that are looking for this service, as well as, giving them the demographics, the breakdown, because we do use the Census Bureau to come up with that, with some of that information on, how many families live within that 2-mile radius, different things like that. So when we come in and we start teaching them, they already know and understand, because they're moms. And these are moms that are looking for the same thing that I was looking for.
That's key. And what you just said was key, is because the type of person, franchisee in this matter,
Mm-hmm.
that is going to work and see the vision, naturally see the vision, because why? They're moms. And so it's a natural gravitation to seeing the vision of how this concept is, because it's important. It's important for a franchisor to share the vision to not only internally, but externally to the franchisees that are buying into the concept. They have to show the vision. They have to understand the vision. They have to understand the model and the purpose behind it, right?
Yes.
And it's important. It's important for them to know that, because then once they get a grasp of all that information, they have a complete foundation to work from. As franchising that's what that is. You work from a foundation, and everybody has an end goal. Everybody has that goal at the end. It's the middle that counts. It's the middle that you have to choose the right franchisee, because in the middle between the foundation and the goal on the top is what it produces the character, the drive, the grit, the motivation, the getting up, the skills. Everything in the middle is what matters, and you cannot teach that.
No, you can't. Most definitely. I've already terminated one of our franchise owners, and they came into the gates and I think in August, and their last day was January 20th. They just weren't the right fit. As far as it seemed like on the outside they were, and I've learned a lot of things with this particular transaction. And my biggest thing is that they have to want to work it, because no matter what, even when you buy into any brand, it doesn't matter what it is, you have to be willing to work that, because it's a job. Things don't just come out of the air, and you have to get out, you have to be willing to go market it, you have to be willing to drive. You definitely have to be willing to drive, because if you don't drive, then how else are you going to know these routes?
And that's just kind of how you get the passion for it. You want to love what you're selling. You want to love what you're doing, and you have to know. That's how you have to get in it just to know it.
Yeah. So Rose, so since you're kind of playing three roles here, you're playing a role of franchisee.
Yes.
You own your own territory. And the icing on the cake is you're related to the owner.
Right.
Right. Right.
So don't be jealous, guys.
So tell us a little bit on the day in the life of a franchisee and your experience thus far.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a funny thing. I always tell my drivers, because when they start calling me, when I'm getting calls from my drivers by 6:20, 6:30, I know it's game on. And I'll just have to look up and say, okay, challenge accepted, So that's pretty much how it is every day. I have, we have new challenges. Some days are real easy and relaxed, and, I just have to do some schedule updates and, take care of some payment issues and things like that. Make sure that the vans are maintenance. But then there's some days that I wake up and a car won't start, and I have to figure out what I'm going to do for a backup van that morning. I have 45 minutes to go time, and so it's things like that. It can get a little tricky, but it's okay, because, God built me for this kind of stuff, and, I'm strong, and Yolanda has taught me how to be a really good problem solver and to not worry about it. She always like, okay, well, everything, we can get through anything kind of mindset. And so it used to not be like that. I used to freak out and worry about everything. But now it's just like, oh, it's okay. A car broke down. No biggie. We'll just, have it towed and get it to the mechanic and, rent one. And she might have a backup, or somebody next door, another franchisee might have a backup that morning or something. And so it is teamwork. And so, yeah, I mean, it can be a little stressful at times, but it's so worth it.
So really the key is problem solving.
Oh man, you have to be a problem solver.
Right.
You got quick with it. You can't, there's no downtime. Like as soon as before that problem has even started, we need to have at least 2 or 3 ways that we can go about it.
Right.
So now we know that, because we've been training for 17 years, 18 years.
Yeah. And you could prepare as much as you want.
Right.
But you're never going to
life
speak.
happen?
Exactly. And then life happens and then you're back to square one. And it's like, wow, I didn't prepare for that,
Yeah.
Right. But it's important. And I think that's a characteristic. You just pointed out a characteristic of that franchisee, so, and when I was doing Friend Dev, we always created this avatar, if you will, of the, of the right franchisee. What does that right franchisee look for TaxiMom?
Well, a mom in need, a mom that can problem solve, think quick on her feet, has that drive and determination, is community driven, what else do we look
Consistent.
for? Very consistent, willing to learn, not afraid to take, to take the risk.
Not afraid to get dirty and get in there and work it.
Yes, absolutely. Not afraid to get dirty and actually get in and work it.
What about their business skills? What type of business skills do you look for when you have a franchisee in front of you, or potential franchisee in this case?
I'm really not looking at the business skill per se. I think it's really the want, the desire, the understanding. Because usually when it comes to a business skill, everybody has to know how to talk to other people. That's communication is huge. And eye contact, eye contact is huge. So these are just life skills and not necessarily business skills, because everybody's teachable, in my opinion. And, I really feel like, if they have a job, they actually have some type of skill. But I think a lot of it is going to become more of that passion and that understanding and that want, because the want is huge.
I will tell you that communication is the ultimate business skill.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is imperative to everything, because we were mentioning this to my last interview with Michael Browning, the CEO and founder of Unleashed Brands.
Mm-hmm.
He said the same thing. He says one of the main best qualities that we look for is communication.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can communicate our mission, our values to a customer, to a parent, without that skill, you just might as well just pack it up.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can be the smartest guy out there, or girl out there, or, and if you cannot communicate your mission or like my old boss used to say, if you can communicate the facts, the features, and the benefits of what you're presenting, you're going to win all the time.
Exactly.
And that is a critical business skill and in any person. And so that's great. I mean, I think you're kind of putting, and I really like this, because a lot of people sometimes don't think that like this, and some do, but when you put the community, people first, everything else is going to come naturally. So
yeah,
the money, naturally come with it. Some people I want to know how much money am I going to make out this deal.
Mm-hmm.
What does revenues look like, which is important. It's important. And I'm sure that you've gotten that question all the time.
I've gotten many, throughout the years. Oh, that's her little carpool business.
Oh yeah, we get that a lot.
That's her little carpool.
It's our little carpool business. So.
Oh yeah, and so is Uber.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and it's you're gonna get all sorts, and you're gonna get the naysayers. You're gonna say, "Oh, this isn't worthless. I'm not gonna make any money off this deal," and they just don't see the vision. They just really honestly don't see the vision. And that's okay. So that's fine. So, moving. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said it's just not for everybody.
It's not, and that's why Friend Dev is so important process in the whole link of franchising is, Fran Deb, is really the most important part of this whole process. What is the how many units do you have right now?
We have a total of 14 units, and out of those 14 units, 5 are corporate. We just opened up a corporate location in Waco. Rose and I and my cousin are partners. We wanted to give back to our hometown, and so we decided to open it up in Waco, which has been a little challenging. It's been interesting, not just challenging, but interesting because
we've learned a lot.
The demographics.
Demographics are way different from DFW.
Yes.
Explain a little bit about that.
Well,
so demographics. What do you mean? What do you mean by there's not is it single moms, high end families, low end families?
Low end families. As far as the cost, they completely tore us to shreds on our social media. We had to pull our pricing down.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of people that want to use the service but can't afford it.
Yeah, the cost of living down there is way less than it is here. And so jobs don't pay as much, of course, as they do here over there. There's a lot of homelessness there. There's a lot of single parent families there. Things like that. So it's way different.
Yeah. And it opened our eyes to tier pricing because we had a set price going in across the board for everyone. But we decided that we had to set up a tier pricing because we could not give to the community.
Because it was such a big area, because we were used to low income areas, because every area does have a low income area. So we were just so used to it because it's just like second nature for us to be able to know the areas that we're going into and the calls that are coming in. So we would naturally go down on certain areas, and for certain people that we knew the living conditions of that area. So we would already go down, but then Waco opened our eyes because it was just such a big area and everybody was, like she said, tearing us to shreds on our pricing. So it made us open our eyes to tier pricing, which we've learned a lot with that.
Oh yeah.
And it's been great. And all the franchisees love it because there's certain areas in every area, like I said before, and they needed that too. And so now they have the room and the leniency to be able to shift those prices for different areas of their own areas.
But it also taught me too not to clip the wings of our franchisees by giving them more control over the pricing.
Right.
So because if they see something that's going on, because we're not going to be there to see everything that's going on in their specific territory. So that was, like I said, Waco was just eye-opening when it came to that. And we learned a whole lot with that whole, with this whole concept.
Yeah. What has been your hardest hurdle you've experienced so far?
Oh, so the hardest experience that I've experienced with the whole business concept in general was losing my husband in 2011. So when I face challenges as a franchisor, there's nothing ever harder I'm ever going to face by losing a loved one, and that's kind of my mentality going in. Now, believe me, I've had about 3 meltdowns where I'll just cry because it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard when you're losing money. It's hard. The growing pains are really, really hard. There's so many different aspects. The learning curve is not easy. There's, just a bunch of different things that can all accumulate. And when you're small, like us, we're an emerging brand, having to wear all the different hats, not having enough time to take care of everything that you want to take care of. Plus, I have a passion project of my nonprofit organization. And sometimes I spread myself really, really thin. And Rose has really been here to give me that support, because the hardships, sometimes the hardships can outweigh the wins, and it's just that mindset that we have to keep.
I commend you for fighting and pushing through. It's important because now you're creating a legacy, not for yourself, but I'm sure that your husband would have wanted you to keep going.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that he wanted you to just keep pushing, keep going. This is okay. Just keep pushing. So I commend you for that. Rose, as a franchisee and as an owner of a territory, what do you think has been the hardest hurdle for you in your role as a Z and as a territory developer?
It's been hard for me just because I'm a single mom. And so financial stuff has always been hard just because, like Yolanda likes to say, we were busting at the seams. And I have all these calls coming in, but I don't have the funding to drop all these vans for all these families that are calling. And it's really hard for me to turn people away. I like to spread myself pretty thin. Yolanda's area manager will call me and be like, oh, I have this. I don't think you can do it. I've been looking at your routes. And I'll be like, no, just go ahead and quote them. And if they take it, I'll figure it out, And so things like that have been really hard as we've grown. And after the pandemic, finding good drivers and drivers sticking has been really challenging for franchisees. Luckily for me, I've been really blessed with a very strong group of women, single moms. All my drivers are single moms and have been with me now for 2 years or longer. And so, but in the beginning, that was hard of just letting go and hiring outside of family and being able to trust other people with the name, because it took us so long to build our reputation. And, because everywhere we go now in the area, people know. They might not know me, Miss Rose. They'll be like, TaxiMom, you're TaxiMom, And so it's really hard to trust people with your name.
One of the things that I've noticed, a correlation here, that I've through this about 40-minute conversation that I've had, which happens to be the longest interview so far. And it's very interesting. So I appreciate you taking the time. But it's interesting to me, the power of women when they have children and they're doing it alone.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Us guys, we're just a bunch of complainers, man. We just, if it hurts, we're going to make everybody know that it hurts, but I so appreciate it.
So true, Louis. I agree. One thing behind that before we go on.
Sure.
I can see all three of my drivers, just because you did say that, and it just reminded me. One thing I'd like to say about all three of my drivers, because I'm a driver for myself too. I'm an owner operator, but I could see all three of my drivers being potential franchisee owners in the future. So, and they would be really good, strong candidates. So I love that. I love that it's such a strong team.
Yeah, no, and that's important. It's having a strong team, and having a strong team is understanding what the mission, the values, the facts, the features, and the benefits of what they're doing, right? And understanding the values behind it and what this business stands for. But I absolutely commend you both for being in the position that you have been put into, not by choice, but by God's grace. Yes. You have done this business and have accomplished so much. Now, we haven't even talked about the fact that you even started, I believe I heard this behind the franchise grapevine, is that you opened up a unit in Florida.
Yes, we did.
All right. Congratulations. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh. She is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
She is a single mom. She she heard one of our podcasts. She's a widowed mom, and she did her due diligence. She dug deep. She was looking for a service. She happened to come across TaxiMom, and I think she was in the process.
Hold on. Let me tell you real quick a quick story that she told us.
Sure.
She was actually in a rut one day and had her kids and was trying to figure out a way to pick up her kids because of her job. She was on the phone with her best friend, and her best friend was like, let me Google and see if there's anybody around other than Uber to see if there's anybody to help. And her best friend found TaxiMom and gave Carrie the number. And then Carrie saved that number and started researching based on the quick info that her best friend had given her that day that she was in a wreck. So
that is an amazing story. You
I had to make
you
sure
gotta
she
record
knew
that story somewhere.
Yes.
You gotta put it
So
on your website. You gotta put it somewhere. You
really
gotta have her. You
cool,
gotta interview her on that one.
Yeah.
anyways, go ahead.
And so anyway, she's amazing, and she's a
She's the
go-getter.
ideal
She's
franchise.
like the ideal
Yeah.
franchise. I mean, well, Trinisha was one too, and Miss
I mean,
P.
they all are.
Yeah, they all
essentially
have separate,
She's just our new baby.
Yeah, she is, and we're really excited about her starting. I mean, she's looking forward to building Ponte Vedra. She bought the east part of Ponte Vedra, which is outside of St. Augustine, and she's looking to purchase the west side. But she just kind of wanted to get her feet wet, see what that looks like. She's got 2 children of her own. One is special needs, and she's really looking forward to just getting it up and running. So she'll be coming back. She'll be coming back to Texas here in the next 2 weeks for her training.
That's amazing. Congratulations to
Thank
you
you.
guys, and congratulations to her. And that's a wonderful story how these franchisees come to play, because it's the untraditional methods of how you reach a franchisee is usually the ones that are the best ones.
Oh yes.
Usually. But that's just a great story. You have a great story, Rose. You have an equally great story,
Thank you.
as well as not only being, you're taking up the 3 roles. You do have an important role in supporting your sister, supporting the family business, and truly creating a legacy for your family, but also creating the best example for your kids.
Exactly.
And I think that's important, is
That's
because
for sure.
Go ahead.
I said that's my reason for sure.
Yeah, no, it is, because your kids are going to learn from you. Your kids are going to grow up to say, no, listen, I want to run my own show. I want to run my own business. I want to take over the company. I want to start an extension of this. There's so much opportunity out there, because there's so many people that are in the position that need the service. There's so many people that want to own a business, that really want to give back to the community and support the community. And at the same time, let's call it what it is. They want to make money too, right?
Yep.
So it provides them the opportunity to do all of that. And this is a great concept.
And I've been able to give all 3 of my kids their own location. So they all have their own location that they run, that we consider as part of the corporate location. So they range in age from 24 to 34.
That's great. There you go. That's a prime example of creating a legacy for your family. And
exactly.
God, we could go on and on and on. This is so great and wonderful. But I know with time, I want to ask you one last question. There's this question that I ask everybody, that's on the show. But tell me a little bit about what you think makes a great franchisee.
Commitment,
passion,
communication. Most definitely, it's going to be the C word of commitment. Just because you have to be committed to what you're doing. And dependability, our parents really depend on us to be there and show up every day. And if you can't make that commitment, then you're not the right one.
Correct. And that is great. I think commitment is also equal to following the model.
Yes.
Committed to the journey through following the model.
Absolutely.
Through example, through courage, through grit. So, ladies, I appreciate you being here. This has been a wonderful, refreshing conversation. Like I said, we could have talked for another hour. And I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you again. And I'm just so excited to see what is next in your journey, and I pray that you'll quadruple the amount of units that you have, and that you'll be so successful that we're gonna hear a lot about TaxiMom.
You will. Yes, you will.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you again. I do appreciate you, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Thank you, Louie.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Yolanda and Rose. That was so much fun. And what a great story of resilience and determination. Thank you again. As always, you can go to z2z.com to listen to all of our previous episodes, or you can always listen to Z2Z on Spotify or on any of your favorite podcast platforms. And please subscribe, like, and hit the heart button. We do appreciate your support. And I like to end the show with one of my favorite quotes. Trust in what you can do, never in what others say you should do. By Louis Picasso. Until next time.